don't even have a costume. Okay, but just remember that this is a respectable family. If I see any funny business, I am going to magic you into a pickled herring.
Hello everyone, you're watching an episode of Disney+Us. I'm Teddy.
And I'm Hope.
Today we're going to be covering our review of WandaVision, Episode 6, All-New Halloween Spooktacular.
Trick or treat!
With this episode we reach modern times in Westview, and with the new era comes a new jingle.
We get to see the vlog cam in full force in both the opening song and this episode. And it was a lot of fun. It was very nostalgic for me growing up in the 1990s and 2000s. This felt like I was just chilling as a kid, watching some Disney Channel, and being as this is on Disney+, that's probably appropriate.
Yes. Get out of here! Get out!
Never told me much about your brother. I had no idea he'd be so...
Go!
great with kids.
Yeah, he's just full of surprises.
It was also just so much fun to actually see the comedy get some really good writing in this episode. I felt that the comedy got really short shrift in the 80s. There was not a lot going on there. It basically was about the 80s costumes and the whodunit plot, and that's about it.
Yeah, the costumes carried it for the 80s episode, and the costumes are important here again because it is Halloween, a most magical evening. Wanda and Pietro actually end up taking the twins trick-or-treating because Vision goes off to do some investigating on his own.
While Wanda and Pietro are taking the kids trick-or-treating, they actually end up having several meaningful conversations. Wanda is on the one hand trying to reconnect with her long-lost brother, and on the other hand trying to figure out if he really is her long-lost brother.
What was the name of that kid who was always trying to steal your boots?
You're testing me.
No, I'm not.
Hey, it's cool. I know I look different.
Why do you look different?
You tell me.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, outside of Westview at the Sword Base, Hayward finds a reason to kick the trio of Darcy, Agent Wu, and Monica out of his operation. But the three of them refuse to abandon Wanda and the citizens of Westview, so they create a covert operation within the Sword Base. They actually get access to Hayward's secret files that Darcy is able to hack into, and they realize that Hayward is tracking Vision because he's emitting some kind of vibranium radiation, and Vision's body is labeled as the asset in Hayward's computer. This shows that he is clearly here just to recover Vision to be able to continue whatever experiments he was doing on Vision's body to create his weapons or whatever other scientific research Sword had been pursuing.
And speaking of Vision, he makes it to the end of town, Ellis Avenue, and here on this side of town, everything's broken. People are glitching, people are frozen, and everything is just running out as far as the hex goes. Vision himself tries to make it through the barrier at the edge of Westview, and he doesn't make it. And we see him disintegrating and falling on the ground while the Sword agents who see him coming through the barrier just stand haplessly by. Darcy ends up getting captured by the Sword agents as she runs screaming for them to help Vision as he's trying to make it through the barrier.
Why aren't you helping him? Stop! He's coming apart!
Wanda is alerted that Vision is in trouble by Billy, who, hey, takes after Mom.
Yes, the twins have powers now.
He can sense that Dad's in trouble. So Wanda expands the barrier, absorbing the Sword base. So now Darcy and all the agents are within the hex of Westview.
Are you okay?
Mom! 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 Mom!
What? What is it, Billy?
I hear Dad in my head. He's in trouble.
So this scene of the barrier expanding is definitely my favorite scene from the episode. We see it as this ominous wave that comes washing over, saves Vision, and then absorbs the sword base. What is so great is that the sword base turns into a carnival and the agents turn into clowns. Basically, as the barrier has changed everything that it's come into contact with so far, it's a new fact that with the sword agents, it didn't change them at all.
So my favorite scene, surprise, surprise, comes from more of the straight up comedy at the beginning. Some of my favorite parts of watching sitcoms growing up and now have to do with sibling rivalries and intergenerational interactions, and this episode had both.
I'm a Sokovian fortune teller.
Wow, that is so
Rad!
lame.
Lame.
Worse than the costumes Mom made us the year we got typhus.
Don't worry, Wanda. I think your costume is totally rad, and I would totally feature it on a future merch minute.
Dai, Vilagumi.
Wanda's conversations with Pietro this episode give us a really interesting window into what Wanda has been experiencing and how her grief has led to the creation of Westview.
And it may seem like Wanda is really overreacting, but actually, she's really not reacting much differently than many other people do when they have tremendous loss, especially a death. It's just that Wanda has the superpowers to make escapism a reality.
I only remember feeling completely alone. Empty. Just endless nothingness.
So where do you think Wanda really is in processing her grief? Is she on the upswing, or are things going to get worse before they get better?
So, consistent with my hope that Wanda is not the ultimate big bad villain, Wanda is going to come out victorious at the end of this series. I do think she's on the upswing slowly but surely. She's fully aware now that she has quite a bit of power in Westview. She's fully aware that and everything is not as it seems. And she's trying to bargain with trying to convince herself, this is fine, this is okay. But she's given us glimpses that she knows things really aren't okay and she can't really justify living in this dream world. You see this especially last episode when she's trying to explain to her boys that there are rules in life. Some things need to stay the way they are. Death is forever. Things like that. So it's slow, it's painful, it hurts me, but I think she's on the upswing.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I feel like things are going to get worse before they get better. It seems like she is caught in denial, and that is kind of the whole piece of Westview. In her conversation with Pietro, it ends with her seeing that Pietro is still dead, and this shakes her, it rattles her. Pietro asks, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Oh, I'm fine." This is slipping back into denial that anything is wrong, and it seems like Westview is just gonna continue going, just like at the the end of the episode, we see the hex actually expanding so that Wanda has even more control. And now for our merch minute that is not going to be a minute and is also not sponsored.
I am very excited that we're finally starting to get some new merchandise for the WandaVision show. Today, I wanted to feature 3 shirts for you guys. First up, we have not the Mexican wrestler costume. We all know it's Vision's outfit from the comics. And here we've got a t-shirt, which is sort of a lazy cosplay, but I'm all about it. So this is now on shopdisney.com for people who are interested.
You'll have to add the cape on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially trying to do the red face paint. That'll be hard. And then outside of the comedy, we still have Sword and the whodunit side of the show. So we have this brand new Sword pullover. This is very similar to what you see Monica wearing on other merchandise. So if you want to look like Monica rather than wearing a shirt with Monica on it like we featured before, this is for you.
It is interesting that they call it specifically the WandaVision pullover rather than just general Sword pullover, because I feel like we're going to be seeing this all throughout Phase 4.
And then last but certainly not least, I normally do not like logo t-shirts. I have not featured the generic logo stuff that they always put out for every show where they give you a 50-cent t-shirt, they slap a logo on it, and they charge you $50. But this is kind of fun because it goes back to the early episodes, it has the retro logo, and it's not just a plain white or plain black t-shirt, it's a ringer t-shirt, and I think it's pretty cute. This one I actually made by myself. So if you want just a general WandaVision show shirt, I'd recommend this rather than the generic logos.
This episode gave us so many great conversations, really paying off the big cameo at the end of last episode, getting to see Wanda's twin Pietro come back, join the family. We have a lot of questioning between Wanda and Pietro about who he really is, why does he look different, where did his accent go? It seems like there are 2 possibilities on who he could be, because he kind of contradicts himself. In one conversation, he says he remembers dying in fighting Ultron, and then the next thing he knew, Wanda was calling him, saying that she needed him in Westview, and then later on in the episode, he says, "Your dead husband can't die twice," so he knows that Vision was dead. But Pietro died before Vision died, so the only way that he can know this is if he is some kind of imposter, possibly a villainous one with knowledge of the real world outside of Westview, or he could be just a normal person in Westview that Wanda imprinted all of her memories of Pietro on because she felt like she needed him as part of her family, which is a really dark and almost depressing take, but the betrayal of someone else pretending to be Pietro is just as bad.
I'm really excited to see going forward the consequences of Wanda pushing the barrier out much farther around Westview. I want to see what happens with all the people that are now inside the Hex, especially Darcy. The timeline's not that different now between Westview and the outside world, so does Darcy just revert to being intern Darcy? Because that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it leaves me wondering, there's so many things that I want to see pass through the Hex and just figure out what exactly it does. Can the twins pass through, but Vision can't? And then also it seems like going through the barrier did something permanent to Monica, potentially giving her cancer like her mom, or maybe awakening a superpower so that she's going to become another MCU character.
Also, are the kids going to still be around next episode, or are they just going to magically appear and Tommy and Billy are going to be the only children in Westview once again?
It is a conspicuous detail because of the early episodes and their kind of uncanny focus on children. But now that Monica has her own, I guess it's okay for other people to have theirs.
Wanda.
Sorry. There you have it. Everything that we think about WandaVision episode 6. This episode was full of some legitimate scares for the Halloween special, and some really amazing moments. And we are super excited for what is going to be coming next in the series. I'm Teddy.
And I'm Hope.
This has been an episode of Disney+Us. If you are interested in seeing more background on Wanda and Vision's characters from the rest of the MCU, I've put together a video that reviews all of their past storylines from the previous movies, so give that a peek if you are so interested. And stay tuned for next week when we do our review of the following episode. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.